Are you looking for an easy way to upgrade your wardrobe because you may have something that doesn't quite fit the way you want to, but you don't want to get rid of it? Then I've got the upcycle tutorial for you. In today's video, we're going to take one top and one bottom and combine them into something new. So grab your sewing gear and let's get into it. Also, one thing I want to let you know is if you've been here for a while, you can see that my background is a little bit, actually a lot bit different than normal. I did a complete 180 literally on my sewing space and it's still in progress. So I know it's a little blank back there. Please pardon the progress. It will have lots of fun things behind me eventually, but I got to get there first. It's been a little bit of a wild couple of weeks. I did some posts on my YouTube about it, and I do appreciate all the condolences that everyone has sent and all of the good vibes. So thank you again for all of that. Let's go ahead and grab that sewing gear and let's get into it.
Okay, so for this project, what you're going to need is one top and one bottom that you want to combine to make into a dress. This is a shirt that I got from the Goodwill bins actually a few days ago, and it's a little bit big, but I am making my dress as like a house dress, so it's cool that it's kind of oversized. But I checked the front and the back to see if there were any stains on it, and I honestly have no idea why it was in the bins, but that means that that's a good score for me. What I did was I laid out my shirt on my cutting mat, kind of looked at it and kind of eyeballed where I wanted it to lay. Now, the way that I wanted it to sit was kind of at my waist. So I measured from my shoulder seam of the shirt that I had on down to where my natural waist lays. And that measured to be about 20 inches. So I measured from the shoulder seam of this shirt down to where that would be. Now, if you want it to sit a little higher, then you would just take, a few inches up from that. Or if you want it a little lower, hey, this is your dress, so you do what you want to do. I did mark it with my chalk. I could have just used my rotary cutter, honestly, but I thought that I would be fancy and use my chalk. Now, turns out when I did my cuts, I didn't measure it super precisely. So whenever I went back to just kind of see how even it was under the armpits, it ended up being about 11 inches from the armpit down to the end on one side, and then like 10 and a half on the other side. But it's okay because, again, this is a house coat. If that's something that bothers you, you may want to go ahead and just measure that line across your shirt a little more precisely. Now, before you put your shirt to the side, you do want to go ahead and measure across the shirt to see how much bottom material that you need. Now, on this shirt, it's actually a 3XL, and across the shirt measured 26 inches. Luckily, the item that I used for the bottom skirt part was pretty much exactly the same size as the top part. I didn't even plan it that way. But once I measured my skirt, and this is actually not even a skirt, this is like a nightgown, but I had cut the neck of it off for whatever reason. But I ended up using the bottom part of this nightgown to make a new one. See, that's the beauty of upcycling. You just take things and transform them into other things. Okay, so this audio is going to sound differently than the audio before because my microphone died right after the test that I did. So here's the actual audio and how it should sound. But anyway, we're going to continue on. What I wanted to do was use the entire length of this because the width was exactly the size that I needed. So I ended up cutting it across right under the armpit of the nightgown. And that was going to give me plenty of length to go from where I'm attaching it on the shirt, all the way down, not to my ankles, but it was just a little bit higher than that. So kind of like a length skirt length. mid calf, kind of like that. Again, like I said, if you wanted to do like a different type of shape, then feel free, because that would give it a little bit of razzmatazz. You would have to maneuver it a little bit differently if you did put some angles on it, but hey, we're all about trying new things around here. Once you get your bottom piece and you get your top piece, now you're simply just going to attach them. Now, if your measurements are close like these two were, then this is going to be super duper easy. What I did was I laid my top and I laid my bottom, and what we're going to do is we're going to attach them right sides together before we sew them together. Now, what I like to do is I like to match up the side seams. You can see that they both have a side seam. Some shirts don't, and some bottoms don't. But if you don't have a side seam, you just want to make sure to measure it across and kind of get it close. Again, if you're doing something that is going to be worn out in public, you may want to do your measurements a little bit more specific. But again, we just kind of roll with the punches around here. Here I am attaching the seams, side seams together, and then that is going to kind of show where the rest of it is going to fall into place. And I really cannot believe how close it was to the measurement. Again, this was just something I pulled out of the pile of things that I'm working on upcycling. But I went around and just clipped everything together because I love my clips. Now I'm going to take it to my serger and I'm going to attach the top to the bottom. So let's go over to the machine. Now, if you don't have a serger, do not fret, because you can still make this happen with a regular machine. What I would recommend is, if you are using a regular sewing machine, is that you want to do a straight stitch, and then you want to go back and you want to kind of seal in that stitch with a zigzag. And that way you'll kind of seal and kind of finish that edge. With these both being a knit material, they're not going to fray, but they will curl. I just like the look of a serge seam. I just think it looks nice and clean on the inside of a garment. So I went all the way around, cut off that thread. Didn't I tell you this is the easiest upcycle that you'll ever see? This is the finished result. Takes like no time to do. You can see how the seams lined up, not perfectly, but it still works out pretty good. And on the inside, you can see that serge seam is nice and clean. You'll have just one nice seam that goes right across. Super duper easy to customize and make it your own. You can have something that is super unique to you. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, or if you'd like to see a different version of this technique. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.